Narcissists never prepare for you to leave them first. Here's what happens when you do. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much for joining us for another video. If you find our content helpful and engaging, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us grow and share these important messages with a wider audience. Today I want to delve into a topic that is crucial for understanding the dynamics of relationships with a narcissist. Let's get started. I want to discuss the significant point that a narcissist is fundamentally never prepared for you to be the one who chooses to leave the relationship. Often when we are caught in the difficult cycle within a relationship with a narcissist, navigating the turbulent ups and downs, the back and forth, we might believe that because they treat us so poorly, they must surely anticipate our eventual departure. However, this is where we must understand a critical truth. When we speak of preparedness in this context, a narcissist is never prepared for your leaving. Their preparation, their expectation is always centered around their plan to leave you first. Consequently, when you make the decision to leave and act upon it before they do, it delivers a profound shock because it was not part of their anticipated reality. I want to explore this element of shock that your departure brings to the narcissist, as I believe it is essential for your understanding. Moreover, comprehending this dynamic reveals the immense power it grants to survivors. It highlights how you can reclaim control and agency when interacting with an individual who is abusive or toxic, particularly a narcissist. When engaging with such an individual, you must recognize that you are essentially dealing with an overgrown child who demands absolute authority without accountability. These individuals crave a position of ultimate control, akin to a monarch ruling their kingdom. Yet, they exhibit the emotional maturity and responsibility equivalent to that of a toddler. They desire to be revered and respected even as they relentlessly inflict disrespect upon you. This inherent contradiction, this demand for reverence in the face of their own offensive behavior simply does not make logical sense. Does it? Allow me to elaborate on why the narcissist possesses this fundamental lack of preparedness. As you may have heard me mention before, narcissists lack the capacity for foresight. This is intrinsically linked to what one might call their spiritual composition or internal makeup. When we refer to their spiritual composite, we're talking about the underlying nature that influences their actions and perceptions. Narcissists are often described as being influenced by darker aspects or entities which can govern their behaviors. These darker influences may have access to information regarding your past, your lineage, or even current events in your life. They might attempt to assess certain aspects of your being, metaphorically speaking, by the brightness of your star in a spiritual sense. However, despite potentially having access to certain kinds of information, a narcissist being controlled by these darker influences does not possess the true ability of foresight. This is because foresight, genuine discernment, and the capacity to anticipate future events often require a connection to a different kind of spiritual energy, one that represents light and divine wisdom. For an individual to have true foresight and discernment, their inner vessel, their being, needs to be aligned with or inhabited by a positive spiritual force such as God to foster true growth and enlightenment. This divine connection provides access to information that can reveal or show what is yet to come. A narcissist lacks this connection. Therefore, when you're in a relationship or caught in the dynamic with a narcissist, much of their behavior and the ways they mistreat you are often based on information you have previously disclosed to them about your past. This underscores the critical importance of being very cautious about what you share when interacting with them. They will take the intimate details you have shared about your past experiences and relationships and ruthlessly use them against you. They will leverage this information to inflict further abuse, operating under the flawed assumption that because you endured difficulties or trash from others in the past, you must inherently possess the capacity to tolerate their mistreatment as well. This then highlights why it is so essential for us to learn to be discerning with the information we share, to keep certain details private when interacting with a narcissist. As we discussed regarding a narcissist's preparedness for your departure, they are completely unprepared for this scenario. In fact, they often project an air of grandiosity and invincibility, telling you things like, "You can't live without me," or "What would you ever do without me?" They might claim your life would be ruined, that nobody else would ever want you, or that your life could not possibly continue without them. They utter these preposterous statements, and I know some of you listening can attest to this experience in the comments. But when you bravely take that step, when you reclaim your agency and decide to leave first, you disrupt their entire expectation. You see, the narcissist's preparation is focused on their actions. They prepare you for the inevitable discard and the process of devaluation. That is their goal, to condition you for their eventual dismissal. They are absolutely not preparing for the possibility that you might turn the tables and do it to them. This distinction is critically important to grasp. Their plan is always to be the one who initiates the departure, not the other way around. But believe me, when you reverse this dynamic, when you take control and leave when they're unprepared, some of you have witnessed their rage and anger escalate to an extreme degree. It reaches a completely different level. This happens because your action triggers a deeply seated mechanism within them, the mechanism of shame, which is inextricably linked to their colossal, earth-sized ego. This triggered shame brings about an internal experience for the narcissist that is almost unbearable for them to confront. Some of you might have seen the narcissist resort to pleading and begging with you not to leave. And when that failed to achieve their desired outcome, they may have unleashed their rage upon you, attempting to instill fear to manipulate you into staying. Indeed, they employ a multitude of tactics. This behavior stems directly from their lack of foresight and their inherent unpreparedness for your departure. It's true that they might say things like, "You're just going to leave me like everyone else." But when they say this, it is often a form of reverse psychology. They say it precisely because they do not want you to leave. They plant that idea in your mind with the hope that you will react by thinking, "No, I will not leave you like everyone else. I will not treat you the way others have." It is vital to recognize this manipulation tactic and remain firm in your understanding. Please understand that is the sole reason they make such statements. They are aware on some level that every relationship has a beginning and an end. However, their fundamental need is to be the one in control, to be the one who determines that end. Thus, when they're in the devaluation phase, actively preparing you for discard and you recognizing the unacceptability of their behavior, decide to set boundaries and leave first, right at the point where they were grooming you for their discard. This is when the situation becomes intensely revealing. This is when you truly see the extent of their nature. You might witness the most horrifying or sometimes the most pathetic version of this individual you have ever encountered. This is precisely when that transformation occurs. Why? Because narcissists absolutely despise losing control of their supply, especially their main supply. The thought of losing that central source is unbearable to them. When they lose control, something within them intensifies the already negative internal narrative they carry. This negative self-talk turns inward in a way that becomes intolerable for them. It begins to voice even more damaging things to them, and they lack the capacity to quiet this internal turmoil. This happens because, as previously discussed, the negative influence or entity was focused on you, on your light. So when a narcissist fails in their mission concerning you, the mission often being to diminish or control your light, that internal negativity turns on them. It begins to inflict worse upon them because the vessel they intended to control or potentially destroy has now escaped. Yes, this is the reality of the dynamic. They are never truly prepared for your departure. A narcissist is never prepared for you to leave first. But when you do, be prepared for the intensity of their reaction. I want to encourage you all to truly absorb this information and proceed with caution. It is crucial to understand that narcissists often show little regard for the impact of their words and actions when they are feeling wounded or are in a state of desperation. They genuinely may not care about the harm they cause. In those moments, they are likely to say or do anything they believe will manipulate you into returning to the relationship. When you refuse to come back, That is when their true, unrestrained nature can emerge. Everything you might never have imagined this person capable of saying or doing to you can potentially manifest. You might feel as though the person you knew has transformed into someone entirely different. This intense reaction occurs because you have threatened their essential supply, that vital source of validation and energy you provided them, which they perceive almost as their air supply. Realistically, there's only one effective way to truly impact or get through to individuals with these deeply ingrained patterns. That method involves stepping back and creating distance, regardless of what you have experienced. Perhaps a discard, a reverse discard, or a situation where their behavior became so chaotic and toxic that you had to cut contact. They fundamentally may not appreciate or understand your true worth. They may not recognize the value you bring. And this is precisely why distancing yourself is necessary. You must create space, leave them to their own devices for a period. Allow them to pursue whatever they are doing, whether that involves engaging with new sources of supply or attempting to portray an image of living their best life. Simply allow them to be for a while. Creating this distance is often the only way to make an individual with these characteristics truly perceive the reality of your absence. It is the only method that might lead them to a form of realization, because they will likely begin to crave the supply you provided. They will start to feel that craving for your unique energy and attention. When you are no longer present, life may not proceed as smoothly for them as they project. While they might maintain an outward appearance of success or happiness, narcissists are skilled at presenting a facade, even concealing their struggles from close friends and family. By leaving them to their own circumstances, you disrupt their internal balance. From a scientific perspective, this absence can trigger the release of certain neurochemicals, such as oxytocin and others in both males and females. When you, as a former partner, have distanced yourself and allowed them to navigate their own reality, they often begin to crave your supply. They may start romanticizing the relationship they shared with you. They also tend to become anxious and concerned. This is why even if you were the one who was discarded, they may begin to worry and become preoccupied with the thought that you are moving forward with your life. They become curious about your activities and progress. However, let's reflect for a moment on the final stages of your involvement in that relationship with a narcissist. In those last days when you were still connected in some way, it's often evident that they did not genuinely appreciate you or the value you brought. And this brings us back to the point that creating distance is the most impactful way to get through to them. You must intentionally pull back, detach emotionally, and become less reactive to their behaviors. They will likely engage in chaotic and provocative actions specifically designed to elicit a reaction from you, to draw out that supply they crave. But if you can maintain a composed, unaffected, and unemotional stance, if you can focus on living your own life, diligently pursuing your goals, connecting with your purpose and meaning, and simply allowing them to navigate their own existence, that is often the moment of reckoning for them. They may initially act indifferent or play hard to get, expecting you to chase them. But by consistently maintaining your distance over time, you create the necessary space for them to potentially realize what they have lost. During this process of separation and reflection, a transformation begins to occur within you as well. You start a process and accept on a deeper level that you have had enough of the relationship dynamics. Even if in the initial phase of separation you felt a fleeting desire to reconnect or attempt to fix things, you will gradually move towards an ascension point, a state of profound realization. You will begin to see with increasing clarity that your life is significantly better without their presence. You will start connecting the dots, recognizing the repetitive patterns of their behavior, and engaging in a crucial period of reflection. Once you have moved past the initial stage of obsessive rumination about the relationship, you will be able to reflect on specific instances and patterns. You will likely identify repeated harmful behaviors, perhaps thinking, this is what they were doing then, and this is what happened later. You will start to truly understand the underlying game they were playing and their manipulative tactics. Crucially, While you are giving yourself this essential time and space, they're often beginning to intensely crave your supply. Yes, they will start to feel that deep yearning for you. They will miss the unique connection they had with you. This next point can be challenging to articulate, particularly for those who identify with being an empath or a chosen one, as you typically do not wish hardship or misery upon others, even those who have wronged you. While it is understandable that in moments of anger, hurt, betrayal, or pain, you might momentarily wish for their suffering, there is often a deeper wisdom at play. Sometimes God may not allow you to witness their downfall directly. This is perhaps because, as an empath, seeing them in pain might cause you distress, and God knows your compassionate nature better than you know yourself. Therefore, if you were to witness them experiencing hardship and pain, you might feel sympathy for them despite everything they have done. This is precisely why it is often necessary to let them face the consequences of their own actions. You cannot continue to be their rescuer or savior. You must allow them to navigate the challenges they create for themselves, as they often make a mess of their own lives. This process can, in some cases, be what sparks a realization for them. They might spend a few months outwardly appearing to thrive, enjoying new sources of supply, and believing everything is wonderful. However, eventually challenges or misfortunes may arise. Perhaps something impacts their health, their career faces difficulties, or some other tragic event occurs in their lives. Personally, I do not wish misfortune upon anyone. However, there is a universal principle, a natural law at work. Individuals cannot continuously inflict harm and negativity upon others without consequences eventually manifesting in their own lives. The profound truth is that you are often a genuine blessing in their life. You are a source of positivity and support, a true gift. Yet, they failed to recognize this. They chose to take you for granted, to devalue you, to treat you poorly, and to not appreciate your presence. Thus, the moment they lost you, they lost that significant blessing. While they might exist in a state of delusion for a time after you are gone, seemingly enjoying themselves with new supply, this illusion is likely to eventually crumble. In a spiritual sense, their actions may have offended God, which is often understood to protect those who are pure of heart. God knows who you are, has known you from the beginning. Sometimes you may not witness the full extent of the consequences faced by those who wronged you. This could be a testament to your own blessed nature. As an empath, you might feel empathy even for their suffering. However, the reality is that their lives can indeed begin to unravel significantly. They can completely fall apart, and in that state, they may find themselves craving the presence of the chosen empath once again. Some of them may remain stubbornly resistant to this realization. They might persist in seeking validation and fulfillment from other sources, but deep down a part of them understands. They know they had something incredibly valuable with the chosen one, with the empath. They had access to genuine loyalty, trust, love, transparency, and empathy. They were offered the possibility of a beautiful and authentic relationship, and they chose to take it for granted. They focused on ways they could manipulate you. They sought methods to potentially diminish or even in their harmful perspective destroy you. They did not want to appreciate you. Rather, they took you for granted, fundamentally failing to recognize your true value. So, the essential takeaway, the central message of this video, is to allow them to face the consequences of their own actions. Permit them to navigate their path independently, because I assure you their fabricated world is ultimately destined to crumble. You do not even need to actively seek out evidence of this. Simply hold this truth in your heart. Understand with unwavering certainty that they have wronged you, and in doing so they have offended a higher principle, a divine order. Consequently, consequences are inevitable. They are coming for them. The way their reality is currently aligning is, I promise you, not conducive to true well-being or lasting happiness. The trajectory, the natural flow of their life moving forward is inherently unstable and problematic due to the foundation of harm they have built. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. I sincerely hope this message resonates and provides clarity or comfort to someone. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving a like, leaving a comment to share your thoughts or experiences, and sharing it with anyone who might benefit from hearing this message. Your engagement truly helps our channel reach more people who need this support. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future videos. I will be back with another video soon to continue our important discussions.